All right, here we go, baby. Row 26, episode 7. We're here. Hots, Dreamers, Sixers, Row 26ers, excuse me. It's early morning for me over here. I got my coffee here. You know, shout out to El Yonke PR. But I got my coffee here. Got my boy Hots. Talk to me, bro. Welcome
And by early morning, he means noon.
No, it's still 11:59, so that's early morning.
Oh, 11:59, still AM. All right, yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. It's been a trying time. Our New York Rangers are out of the playoffs, knocked out, lost the last 3. We're going to get into the NHL. We're going to get into basically everything we want to talk about today. A lot of sports going on.
Maybe some life stuff, whatever.
Yeah, whatever we want to talk about, and you'll love it. So let's get into it.
Facts. Nothing like a nice morning pod, 11:59. All right, now it's official.
All right, we're officially in the afternoon now.
Day started now.
He's got his coffee. Got his joint.
Day started now. There we go. But man, yesterday Rangers, bro, tough. That was tough. I'll let you go. I want you to go first. I was watching the game while I was at the Yankee game, so didn't have my same immersed experience being able to necessarily watch every individual play. So I'm sure you saw a lot more of the nitty gritty stuff. So we'd love to hear your take about it seemed like the same old story, just not enough shots and putting too much pressure on Igor, if I had to guess. But go ahead, Johnny. I want to hear what you have to say about it first, and then we can talk about the series.
Yeah, well, I got to start in Game 5. Obviously we're 2-2 at that point. We're all very excited off that 5-4 victory in overtime from Game 4. Or excuse me, I'm talking about Game 4 now. I got it all messed up.
Yeah, Game 4. Yeah. I know what you meant, though.
Game 4 was when they lose. Now I'm all twisted up. Sorry, but the second to last game from now, I got to get back to. They have the one shorthanded goal from Kreider, and that's it. But they're getting absolutely bodied, especially in the later periods. They started off pretty well, outshot them in the first, and then at the end of the game, the real heartbreaker, nail in the coffin, empty net goal. Just watching that replay and seeing Sam Bennett just take Mika Zibanejad's soul on the boards, take the puck from him, go right in.
That was in Game 5. Yeah, Game 5.
Game 5. Okay, so score the empty netter and then absolutely blast Chris Kreider after he scored into the boards and just stare him down. And Kreider looks like a deer in headlights, scared silly. And then the other Florida Panthers player skates by and one hand shoves him into the board again. And they're just all just like, fuck. It was just such a look of like defeat. They did end up getting another goal after that, but then it makes you think, wait, if we didn't give up this empty netter, we might have even tied this game, went to overtime. But that image just stuck with me. Getting into the last game, again, it's just like you said, just not enough offense. We talked about the big guys on the team not doing enough, specifically Panarin, specifically Fox. Mika played a little better. Kreider played a little better. But, all in all, I mean, we had to take that Panarin doesn't want to score on his boy Bobrovsky, and it's obviously not true, but it's seeming more and more realistic. Let me hear you out, and that I have one more thing to add.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say. I agree with the premise about Game 5 and how they got punked at the end of the game. It also seemed like Panarin was getting punked on the boards there at the end of the game. They were jawing with him when they like put the puck into the boards basically to bury it for the last 30 seconds. And then when that game was over, they just started grilling Panarin. You could just tell it was personal, and they were just like, "Who are you? Like, you're the bread man? Like, bro, you don't have a point. Like, I don't even know who you are. I don't know you. Like, I literally don't know you. I don't care about the regular season. I don't know you." So it just felt like older brother, younger brother type vibes for a lot of the series, which I hate. The one guy that didn't feel like that with was Igor. So shouts to Igor. Something like a 92%, 93% save percentage for the series, which is absolutely astronomical for the amount of shots he was dealing with. And just the physicality, they were hitting him even during the series, and they were knocking his stick away. Igor, they were doing everything they could to get him uncomfortable, and he really kept the Rangers in every game. There was no complaints. You can't give one complaint to Igor. I'm not having it. Like, there was basically no errors throughout the whole series that were really like, those mental farts that you have as a goalie. I didn't even really see many of those from Igor all series. So super proud of his play, excited about his future, obviously continuing to be with the Rangers and just turning into the best goalie. I think he still could be in the running for the, Conn Smythe. Like, I think he's still going to be the guy that gets that award at the end of the day, even though Bobrovsky was so good. But it's just like, at the end of the day, the Rangers have a weird problem right now, I would say. They had a team that had a window a couple of years ago that seemed to be ready when the Tampa team was good. And then the excuse was Tampa's too good. And now we have this team with Loff coming up and playing well. Panarin had his best regular season. And then you still, in theory, had Fox and these elder statesmen. We got Hedel that came back eventually, obviously. So, and then in Trocheck, being that glue guy in the middle there. So I was excited. I thought this team was really like a good mix of like some young talent that was emerging, as well as some elder statesmen that had been waiting to win with the Rangers and just didn't come to fruition. So, they'll go back to the drawing board again. It's like the same old story, though. It's like there's always that one other team in the fucking East that's just like better than us, and they don't seem to be able to get past that point. Whether it would be Vasilevsky or whatever, Vasilevsky when it was with Tampa, and now you got Bobrovsky. It's like, okay, like there's always going to be a guy. Like, you got to beat that guy. That's the point. Like,
yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, quick correction: the Vezina trophies for the goalie. The Conn Smythe is just like the most valuable player. Got it. And then Igor is definitely in the running for that. I think on a yearly basis, he played great. He had the one, fart, as you mentioned, blunder in Game 1 with the stick handling, and that was bad. Other than that, he played pretty exceptional. One went through his legs, but that was a good deke, so you can't really blame him there. He played excellent. Igor's the man. I love Igor. I already said build the statue.
Yeah, in the banner, all of it. Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, Florida is the younger, tougher, faster, better skating team. It's, hard to deny. And the last guy I'm going to lament on is, Trouba. I get that he's a hard hitter. He plays hard. He is the captain.
The Can't have it.
Yeah. 11 penalties. The second closest was 8. And also just not just the penalties, but defensively, he hasn't played very well. And I think, obviously you can't do it in the middle of a series. It's too emotional. It's too much of a big deal. But like you talked about it, like Vinny Trocheck is the guy who should be wearing that captaincy as far as I'm concerned over Jacob Trouba. I think that I like Trouba. I know he's getting bashed a lot in the media, and I'm usually the guy who stands up for everyone who's bashing. Maybe it's because I'm a personal Rangers fan that I feel it more. But he really played poorly this series. Give me K'Andre Miller all day over him. I think he's the better defenseman now at this point. And I think that we got a lot of younger guys. And if we're going to be like, we need a good captain who could be influential, I'm starting to lean towards Trocheck over Trouba. And just one last point, you might need to mute your mic because you might get mad because, I'm just letting you know now you're not going to like this. And it kind of goes into the whole, Panarin and Bobrovsky thing, that it's not a real thing, but it's how I feel. It's my truth. That when I saw the Knicks at Game 5, I got a pit in my fucking. I told you to turn your mic off. Let me speak my truth. This guy, I fucking saw them there, and I'm like, these fucking guys should be home, fucking sad that they just fucking lost Game 7 at home, got blown out in this very same building. Now they're bringing that fucking loser energy to the Garden when the fucking Rangers are playing. And I know that it didn't really impact the game, but when I fucking saw them there, my first thought was like, they're going to fucking lose. I swear. Go ahead.
I mean, you got it. I'm similar creed. So like to hate on your take would be against my policies as a human. If I was watching the New York Giants and like the Yankees had just lost to the Red Sox in the divisional round or some shit, and then like Aaron Judge came over to watch the Giants, I'd be like, go hit some balls, bro. You just lost to our arch rival. Like, I don't want you here, dude. Like, I love you, and you might have been the regular season MVP and all this other jazz, but no, this is a playoff game for the Giants. Like, get the fuck out of the stadium. Whatever you're bringing was not what we want right now. So I hear you. I'll let you get that off. That's fine.
No, I'm glad you didn't push back too far because I would just.
I'm not gonna push back too far on that one. I do respect them for coming out though after the season's over and not just like going off to their countries and whatever the fuck they want to do in their millionaire lives and just fucking off for the rest of the off season. Like they still notice that their comrades who they were talking through like social medias throughout the playoffs, like supporting each other, that they continue to support. So I respect it on one end, but I respect your take. You know,
too soon. They just lost in that building maybe less than a week.
Or if they win the series and it goes to the Stanley Cup, then you show up for that because there's some air to breathe.
Or even if they keep winning, you don't show up because you got to keep practicing, focus on your thing. Either I'm not saying they're like bad guys.
I'm just broken hand, so it's like, where the fuck's he going? So
that's
like,
true. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, if let's say, you know, obviously Dallas is a hot city right now, and if a bunch of Cowboys showed up and they, you know, if you had that same feeling about the Cowboys showing up to the Mavericks or to the Stars game, I wouldn't push back because, like I said, I had that feeling.
That Prescott walks in that stadium, I want Mark Cuban to escort him out himself. Be like, get the fuck out, bro.
Same like you were saying with the you know, the Yankees in the playoffs, they lose. If the Mets, even if they didn't have a playoff loss, if just the Mets showed up at a Rangers game, get these fucking losers out of here. And I'm a Mets fan. I don't, you know, that's how. And like I said, I'm not making this up after the fact because of how it went. As soon as I saw them there, my first reaction was, oh fuck! Like they're fucking bringing that bad juju into the fucking building. So
you're also not a Knicks fan. So to be clear, that was for the Knicks fans.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm definitely not a Knicks fan. Like, but I'm also not a Knicks like hater either. Like I like when the Knicks are good because it makes my friends happy. I don't really have it. I don't cheer for a team that's a Knicks rival or anything like that. Like I like the Knicks to be good, but the Knicks objectively are a loser franchise. I could say that as a guy who cheers for the Mets, who cheers for the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys, you could say they had a lot of success early, but like I know a loser franchise when I see one.
Knicks haven't been to the final since 2000. They haven't had championships since 73. I mean, you can say what you want about the playoff runs with Melo, the playoff runs, like, you know, now with Brunson, the playoff runs with Patrick back in the day, maybe some of those random runs where they're the 8th seed and sneaking in with like an
I mean, similar things you could say about the Mets. They went to the World Series in 2015.
Jose Reyes era, Carlos Delgado, all day.
Since '99, they've been to 4 conference finals. They've been to 2 World Series, but they still suck. They still fucking suck at the end of the day.
It's because it's not a product that stays afloat. You know, a lot of times with the Knicks and the Mets, they rise up, build a team, have a couple of years, blah, 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 blah. It's not like the Dallas Cowboys or the Yankees where it feels like every single season they're putting a product out on the field that you believe in your head has an actual chance to win their division, and you never know what happens in the playoffs and just get to the dance. Essentially, the Mets and the Knicks are like literally like a wave pool.
Yeah, peaks and valleys. That's a great way to put it. I mean, even how you're saying with the Rangers earlier, like there's always just teams they can't beat. I mean, that Mets team 2 years ago was, won the division in the wild card against the Padres and then just gets smoked. And now 2 years later, they're among the fucking basement of the MLB, not knowing what to do with guys like Alonso and Lindor, or just wait for the prospect. Like, at least last year they shipped off the pitching, with DeGrom and Scherzer to get some good prospects back from the Astros and from the Rangers, like especially Acuna's little brother who's doing really well. But still, to get back to wrap it all together, that was just a sports fandom take that I had and that I genuinely felt that I want to get off my chest. We can move over to the Western Conference. We got the Edmonton Oilers up 3-2, game 6 tonight, and the Stars are on the ropes. What do you think happens tonight?
It's in Edmonton. Man, that's the biggest game in Canada for, how long now? That's where we're at right now with this kind of a game. Like people think about Edmonton, they just think about Edmonton, but Canada is rooting for Edmonton right now. There's a country rooting for Edmonton right now. So I feel like there's a super amount of pressure, for Dallas to come out and play well, but they've been playing well. And these are the kinds of games that Dallas has been winning this playoffs. When they needed it, back against the wall type of game, they've been having them. So I think that Edmonton could finish it off at home. I think home ice is something, but I also don't think home ice is like a home field in football. I don't think that's the same thing. So, once the puck drops, you kind of just between those lines, and it's hard to even see what's happening around you beyond like the hockey rink. Because if you look up at those stands one time, you're dead. So, I would say that I think Edmonton finishes it off. I think McDavid gets on the. If you're looking for some betting analysis here for our future sponsors, I definitely would say that McDavid is good for a point, and I would say Drysdale is good for a point as well. I'm not going to say they're both going to score necessarily, but I think they'll be involved, and I would expect the game to be like a 4-3 type of game. Maybe early push by Dallas and then late surmounting by Edmonton.
Nice little same game parlay in there. You probably throw in with those two guys to score a point. Going into this series, I think we both agreed it looked like a 7-game series in terms of the talent levels for both teams. I think I'm going to stick to that. I'm sticking with the Stars, sticking to my guns. A lot of times I probably will change my mind in series, but just throughout these playoffs, I've been pretty consistent. I do think the Stars are an awesome team. I think they're the bigger threat to the Panthers even. I think the Panthers are cheering for the Stars. Are cheering for the Oilers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They'd rather not see the Stars because I do think they are the best team. But then again, the Oilers continue to roll similar to the Mavericks where a lot of people maybe were doubting them, doubting that they don't have the experience, the championship experience. But, yeah, they were looking to break through, be the first team, to maybe even win this championship in 31 years from Canada. And then I think just the last few times, I think recently the Canadians, but before that was like 15 years ago.
What's your thoughts on the last game where Dallas was up 2-0 at home, and then they gave up 5 straight goals to lose 5-2 in that game inevitably? I think it was more 4 goals. Like one of those goals was, whatever. But what are your thoughts on that type of a game where a team goes up 2-0? And then all of a sudden, a tidal wave of goals just starts happening. Like, do you feel like Dallas's goalie is good enough?
I'm not sure. I think he's good enough with the rest of the team that they could also score. I think they just kind of fell asleep skating wise. But I do agree that it's going to take a minimum of 3 goals to win, probably 4, with these types of teams out there. Where if you're scoring too early and then get shut out the rest of the game, that's a bad sign. I do believe there's been a lot of those games in these playoffs where teams are up 2 or 3 goals and they come back. You see that in hockey a lot more in the playoffs than the regular season. Just guys grinding, good teams out there, But they say a lot of times like 2-1 is like the most dangerous lead in hockey. And I almost think in these series, like 3-2 is a dangerous lead, where you could come back from 2. You could win 2 games quick. Like you said, goalie could get hot, team could get hot. And I think I got to keep riding with the Stars. Maybe that's a good bet for tonight, if depending on what the line is.
I would expect the Stars to be dogs. Yep, they are. That's correct. Edmonton's minus 140 right now. So
decent. Plus 115.
Plus 115 there. It seems like about plus 110, whatever the books end up being there for Dallas. That's interesting. Imagine getting a 1 seed in the West with odds. I mean.
Exactly.
You live in, but
I think
in general, though, I want to say if it goes to Game 7, who do you think is going to win the Game 7? You still
like I said, I'm going to stick to my guns with the Stars. I picked them before the playoffs started to get to the Western Conference Finals, so that ticket is still alive. Even if it's on the ropes. Edmonton looks great. McDavid is my favorite player. But I just think that Dallas is not going to go down in 6 games. I just think they're too good of a team. They're going to at least force a Game 7, and then in Game 7, anything can happen. And like you were saying, like even the odds, they do reflect that home ice. Like that's just in the algorithm. Whereas we're like, all right, this is Game 6. Yeah, they're on the road, but they have to win. So I think maybe you're getting some good pricing there. Obviously not a lock, but something that I think you get some value.
And I think both goalies actually are similar. I think at the end of the day, Ottinger and Skinner, they're both very similar guys. Actually, they, I didn't even see this, but they both have the exact same save percentage at 90%. So for the playoffs, not a lot between them. So I think that's going to come down to the big players like Wyatt, who's been unfucking believable these playoffs. He's another pretty boy that just puts it down and you don't know what to do. He's another Jack Hughes type that's just like he doesn't look like a hockey player necessarily. If he took off and took a shower, I'm sure, and got all preened up in a suit, but when he's out there on that ice, he's scoring goals every time and you can't stop him and he's filthy. So
well, we've talked about it before. Hockey players have one of 2 looks. They either have that pretty boy look or they look like
a straight like a Zach Hyman hockey player. Like just have the look and the grit, like just sick.
They just look like the Liver King with no teeth. But
yeah, exactly. So it's exciting. We'll see. Shouts to the Panthers. Respect to them. They didn't do anything wrong by beating our favorite team. And they're a hell of a fucking club. They were great last year. They were knocking on the door last year. So good on them to get over the hump and get back to the Stanley Cup, and maybe they'll finish the job this year. I think we both are on that wave thinking that they might. They're the physical team that's left, I would say. No matter if it's Dallas or Edmonton, I think for my bread, I would be taking Florida for that series.
I don't know. That's tough.
It's tough, but I like Bobrovsky. I think Bobrovsky is better than everyone on that side, and that's the stuff that's been winning for them, which is keeping people 2 goals and less. I think his record when he gives up less than 2 goals is something stupid. It's like 19 of 20 or 20 of 20.
Oh yeah,
something
it's
ridiculous.
It's gonna be hard to keep a team like let's say Edmonton makes it. They are gonna score more than 2 goals a game. I don't care who's in goal.
Get tight. Those asses be clenching in the Stanley Cup.
If you look up the playoff points leaders, I'm pretty sure like 3 or 4 of the top 5 are all on Edmonton. It's McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard,
Hyman's up there. Yep.
They got some other guys, but yeah, Hyman's up there too. Good point. I didn't even think about him. But yeah, no, I think the West has a lot of fast, good skaters.
Yeah, one less than Panarin.
They're ripping right now. So,
crazy.
But yeah, we'll get into the NBA a little bit. We talked a lot about, we already kind of previewed the finals. We figured the Mavs would take care of business. Minnesota, to their credit, didn't go out too quietly. They didn't get swept. They won Game 4, but then Game 5 was an absolute massacre. Can we even just don't even talk about that? Spare the Minnesota Timberwolves fans.
Here's the 30-second pitch on what happened at the end of that. They were all happy that they got the Game 4, that they didn't get swept, and they knew that there was no chance that they were going to beat this team another 3 straight times. So, I think that there was just a miscalculation of what did you even just win, which was such a stupid type of like what do they call those victories?
Moral
victory. Thank you. Like a moral victory. I felt like they were just sitting on that. I also just feel like, again, it goes back to this, and I keep saying this, the personality thing, about NBA, why teams are good. The reason the Knicks were good was because of their personality, not because of talent. The reason Minnesota was good was because they have so much good talent, and the personality was there the whole time. They were all taking on Ant's personality, who has the personality. At some point or another, maybe it was the media talking about Rudy on those switches. Maybe it was Towns not playing well. He didn't start playing well. It felt like till the second half of the game they won in Game 4, and then he played pretty well in Game 5. I thought he didn't play well in the first half, but the second half he started playing better. He was in foul trouble again for the first half. I think he had 3 fouls again in the first half. I think he did.
Game 5, the game was over at halftime, so it doesn't matter what you do in the second half.
So it didn't really matter. It was a blowout. So I think the one thing I keep saying about is personality. Personality is what wins in the playoffs. The talent is there, but everyone has talent in the playoffs. The thing that's going to really get you over the hump when you really need to make that separator between who's better, who's best. Yes, having guys like Luka and Kyrie is always going to help when they're both scoring 30. That's almost impossible to stop. We agree. But it comes from the attitude and the personality and taking on the challenge and all these different things and making everybody else be obsolete. So the only guys that beat you are those 2 guys, whatever it might be. But it felt like Ant was there the whole time, but this has been a thing. Conley is a guy that I like, but he's just kind of a guy that doesn't set the locker room. Good player, good pro. Gobert is a shoddy personality. Towns is a shoddy personality. And just listening to their coach, Finch, I don't know if he has the gravitas to keep those guys in the personality that they need to be to win. And also, they're young. That's the last thing I want to say. Right. They're young. So,
yeah, I got you. I'm going to go over a couple of things real quick.
You expected a lot more.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely think that they underperformed. I think, those first 2 games being close losses, who knows? They sneak one of those as a different series. But I do think that Game 4 into Game 5 was a matter of what you said, which is complacency, getting that win. We didn't get swept. That's a relief, if you will, not having that pressure of all right, at least we can get swept. And then also a combination of Kyrie and Luka just being okay, this series is fucking over. They stepped up and they put that away. It was Luka in the first. It was Kyrie in the second. The game was over at halftime. Yeah. They were not losing that game. They could have been playing the fucking 86 Lakers, the 92 Bulls, fucking whoever. They were that team was not losing that game. They came out ready to win. Another thing, just going over the personality stuff like that. I mean, I don't think you could put too much on guys like, who are more role players at this point in their career, like a Mike Conley. Like, yeah, I think Towns is a guy who's extremely frustrating to be a fan of. If you're a Timberwolves fan, like, this is our guy that kind of sucks. Gobert, he plays tough, but he's not a guy who leads a locker room. We've seen him clown around in the past, even with things like, obviously, the Draymond fight, obviously even dating back to, like, COVID, when he was, like, licking the microphone.
Mic touch.
Yeah. He's like, I think he licked them or some wild shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and then they literally announced that there was COVID in that building, and they were the first team to get it that
Rudy
night.
Gobert was the first person to get COVID.
The first person ended up being so like fucking like.
Within a week of him licking microphones in jest, they canceled the whole NBA. Like that's what happened. Like, so just like stuff like that, he's always not been that guy. And Edwards brought the personality, brought the energy, but he didn't bring the performance in the conference finals that they needed to steal that game 2, steal that game 1. Like I said, it's a different series, but once you go down 0-2, then you go on the road, you're in a do or die spot already, and they couldn't get it done. Another close game.
22 years old.
No, he's got time left. But I'm saying he still has the personality, the makeup to repeat and be successful. It's just this series, the game wasn't there, the play wasn't there, and I think that complacency, despite like we talk about with him having a great energy attitude, I do think he even fell into that complacency trap a little bit after beating the Nuggets in that emotional 7-game back and forth series, win 2, lose 3, win 2. That takes a lot out of you. And now you go up against this
Mavericks. For the record, if they switch those series and Denver was in the conference finals and they win the series against Denver, let's say it was like a different path, obviously, and they had Dallas in the round before, I think they had a much better chance to beat Dallas because the stakes aren't as high. And I think Edwards probably in that more locked in mode, not as much Miles, and they didn't play Denver yet. If they had figured out a way to beat Denver after beating Dallas in another scenario and made the NBA Finals, they lose anyway. They're not beating Boston. It's too much. At any point, if you have to beat Denver, sure.
Don't tap your desk.
Oh, sorry. I think it's my wrist when I put my hand down from smoking because I'm trying to.
I hear it in my headphones.
Oh, my fault.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, yeah. But I was saying that, like, I think that if you have to go through Denver, you don't win the finals because that is the finals. That's too much of a series. You're not beating them in 6, I don't think. I think Denver, just off sheer coaching and talent, even if they're not playing their best basketball, which they weren't, they'll take you to 7 every time because they're just so good and experienced. And they play such a great brand of basketball. They were a little gun shy, I think, in terms of just having shooters, and they were missing some role players off their bench that I think they took for granted, like Bruce Brown type of guys and guys that really played well for them. I don't think they had as many of those types of guys, and MPJ is a fraud, as I've said forever. So anyway, but I think that Minnesota is going to be a good team for the future, but I wonder if they break up the band, and this kind of speaks to you talking about the offseason. John and I are going to be going through some of the free agent acquisitions here and some of the things that we think are going to happen in the offseason, who's maybe going to re-sign, who's going to be on the move. But we can start there. Like, do you think Towns is going to be on the move with the emergence of Naz Reid and kind of how that roster has been taking shape, or do you think they just run it back?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult question. I don't think you could get away from Towns so easily. They did make a great run. He did have some great moments. It's more – who can they bring in if they do get rid of him? Who are they bringing in who's going to be a plus replacement, who is going to bring attitude, energy? I mean, the guys, as much as Karl Anthony Towns is a headache, there's very few players who I would confidently say are better than Karl Anthony Towns, to take on that power forward role in Minnesota. There's very few players you could just be like, oh, I'd definitely rather have this guy. And those players aren't necessarily available.
One question, though, on the back of that. We could talk about offensively. We agree. I think there's only maybe 5 other guys in the league that are his height, that shoot his percentage from 3, score at will like he does, and, and are actually a very efficient basketball player. But the other side of that coin is on defense, he's been getting exposed as well. It's not necessarily always Gobert that's getting exposed. Towns has no ability to just jump straight up and down and understand what good defense looks like from like a big man perspective. He's always flaily like a guard. He thinks he's smaller than he is, I guess, because of the way he plays offense, which leads him to getting into foul trouble. If you're going to have a guy being your second best paid player, probably going to make in the new NBA with the new league coming up, like something close to like $50 million a year, $40 million a year, this kind of a guy's going to command. I mean, that's tough for me as a person that I can fill that slot with like a, let's say I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm going with the Knicks stuff as my comparisons. Sorry for all you fans, and I'm nauseating. Sixers, no. But I like if you're going to do an Isaiah and an OG versus paying Towns 40 and you pay Isaiah 15 or 17 and you pay OG the 25. Like, that's the kind of thing I think about, or going to get the Lakers and getting a Jared Vanderbilt and D'Angelo Russell coming back to Minnesota for that point guard depth because of Conley. And then you build the roster a little bit more, and then Naz Reid moves up to the starting spot. Vanderbilt's your sixth man. Like, is there something to be said here about shaping the offense because of Towns' defensive liability and him and Gobert both being on the same lineup, being liabilities on the defense, which was exposed by guys like Hardy on switches and shit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that his defense isn't terrible by any stretch. I do think against, top end playoff, performers and, good teams, it might come up a little bit more. Obviously, we even talked about earlier Chris Finch. I do think there might be some question marks there, but I also think some of that comes from the fact that he's like injured right now. So he like can't stand up. So we don't see him like, we see the other guy, I don't even know his name, with like the jet black hair. He's the one who's like always kind of talking to the refs. So it's basically just Chris Finch sitting behind the bench on his little injury stool. So I don't even know what kind of respect you could almost command while tooling around in your little wheelie crutches or whatever. But just to get back to the actual roster construction, I think there is something to be said for maybe looking into some sorts of trades. I'm thinking of the big men who are on the trade market right now. This is off the top of my head. One of the names I remember is Markkanen. Like, is Markkanen someone you'd rather have than Towns?
You know what's funny? I think they're similar, like very similar. Shoot a high percentage from three. I think I like Markkanen more just because he'll shut up and he'll just play ball. And it sucks. I hate talking about this shit because it's like so nauseating for a lot of people because no one wants to talk about this type of shit. But it's personality stuff that only matters with guys like Towns because the talent is clear. 26 a game, 40% from three, 85% from the free throw line. Sure, all that's great. We agree. But it does feel nitpicky just because like he has handed over the reins to Ant Edwards. Like he doesn't want to be the face of the team. It's not like he's like, it's not complaints about like I don't touch the ball enough. It's not like diva kind of stuff. It's more just like he doesn't bring that aura of I'm a championship player who's here to win and win only. He's goofy. They're all goofy. They're a goofy team besides Edwards. Him and Gobert are so soft. Yeah. And it's not their fault that they're soft, but it's their nature.
I don't even necessarily think it's soft. I think they play hard. I don't think there's guys
who play hard, but their personality is soft.
I think it's goofy. Like they're goofballs. Like they don't take it seriously enough.
Gobert is tougher than Towns because Gobert at least is physical on defense. He's trying to get into contact. He goes for block shots, whatever. Towns is the epitome of soft because he's a big man that's always loved to shoot. That speaks the guys that we grew up with, whoever it might be. My boy G, I'll even shout out right now. The guys that never wanted to go in the paint and always hated really getting the contact because inside they're a teddy bear. It's softness. It comes being a big man and shooting.
That's just today's NBA for the most part. Big men want to shoot.
But Towns has been that before it was today's NBA. He's been in the league for a minute, and before this league even turned over that knob.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't call him soft. Honestly, I watch him play. He plays defense. Right. He's not out there like I think it's like childish. It's like that's where I look. Yeah. Those guys are like not mature. That's more where I stand on it. The Gobert shit, the licking the microphone, all this shit isn't professional. That's the way I describe it. They're not like pros going. I don't believe that they're practicing the right way, working out the right way, resting the right way, recovering the right way. That's where my thing is. It's not like, they get on the court and they fold when they're up against bigger, stronger guys. We just saw them go up against Jokic. Yeah, Jokic had his moments, but they won that series against the best big man in the NBA. So I don't want to sit here and be like, they're soft. I just think they don't take it serious enough, or they lack that killer instinct, or more along those lines. If it's not like a physical thing, it's just like you said, a personality, mental thing of just like they're two big goofballs laughing and joking all the time. And I don't take them serious. So I know on a level, there's the Jaden McDaniels, the younger guys in that locker room, or even the older guys in that locker room are kind of like, must be a little bit like, damn, guys, do we ever, is everything always a fucking joke? Like, do we ever take anything seriously?
I can see Jaden and Ant being exactly what you just said, because you can tell Jaden's type of personality just from his interviews and how he plays and how he is. He's definitely a serious guy, serious player. When he's out there, he gets into the mix. He's with the shit for sure, just like Ant is. And I think that's true. So, moving ahead here in terms of like,
I brought up Markkanen because like that's what I was kind of alluding to. It's a similar type of player, except for he's quieter and maybe takes it a little more seriously.
Right.
Another guy who's kind of in a similar makeup, maybe a little smaller, but similar. Like I said, Brandon Ingram is another guy the Pelicans are looking to move. Is that someone who you think they should be interested in?
Man, that's interesting. Let me give that some thought, because there is space there for a guy like Brandon who's 6'9", 6'10", long, can get his own shot at any time. I think it's tough. He almost gets in the way of Ant. I don't know how to explain that, but it's not the dynamic of Kyrie and Luka. It's not the same thing.
Is he a better option for when Ant goes into his slumps? Because his jump shooting does slump.
Towns?
Yeah. To
100%.
get those buckets when you need them when Ant's slumping, Brandon Ingram, Lauri Markkanen might be better options. And like I know we talked about Towns' defense, I do think both of those guys are downgrades on defense from Towns.
Towns is size-wise. Towns is guardable though versus Ingram because of the way he plays offense. He's not.
Oh no, I agree with you offensively. Ingram and Markkanen, I think maybe both are upgrades from Towns at this point in their careers.
Markkanen, I would say, is that's a debate.
The last 2 years, though, Markkanen is like 24 points a game. He's like going up. He's definitely not the same player.
He was drafted in Chicago to be the man. He was. That's what the point was. Yeah.
But I just mean defensively, I think both of those guys are slight downgrades from Karl Anthony Towns. They're not as tall. They're not as long. They're not as physical. Even though we're saying he's soft, like embodies some foolishness. Those guys on defense are a little worse. But I think what Minnesota more needs than a defensive stopper is a guy who can go on runs when Ant is down, having his off games.
And the main thing with that is being able to do it from outside the 3-point line with your dribble. The thing that Towns cannot do is do something with his dribble. It has to be something that's orchestrated. Pick, pop, and then he slides down and takes the small man down to the post and gets into his spots. Whatever it might be. But Towns can't do it without the dribble. I mean, without someone setting it up. He doesn't have the dribble. The reason Luka and Kyrie are so dangerous is because they both can do it with their own dribble from their own accord. They make it happen on their own and then can dish to the three. They're both good, really underrated passers. I mean, Luka's not underrated anymore, but Kyrie's an underrated passer, I would say, and just their playmaking ability. So Towns doesn't have that. That's the thing that Ingram, I think, would separate himself with. That's why with Lauri, it's not an upgrade because Markkanen and Towns kind of do the similar shit. They both can't dribble that well, and they both need the pick-pop orchestrated shit. The thing that would help, that's why I like Ingram more, what you just said there. That is interesting. I think that would be a trade. I think that would help both teams, and I think that takes Minnesota to another level, like you said, when Edwards is going through those. He's going to be 23 next year. He's not going to be 27 next year. So I think what you're saying is more like they would be better served to have another good guard, another good wing player, as opposed to like I don't want someone small.
Yeah, but like Luka objectively is a guard. He's not a forward. He's big, but so Ant's pretty big too, and Kyrie's a smaller guy. So you know what I mean? You're like okay. And I think that plays into a bit of all right, And I'm not trying to say he's as tall as Luka. I know Luka is bigger than Ant.
Yeah, I got you.
But still, a big guard and a small guard, or a big guard and a wing, two guys who could dribble the ball. Yeah. But I do wonder if that's us falling in a little bit into, because I tend to agree, recency bias, because we're seeing it in Dallas now. We're seeing it work. Like, is this the new formula to be a winning team, having the two, guards, maybe one bigger, one smaller, who can both get their own and score at will? Or does that only work because of the guys that surround them?
It's been the formula. It's been the formula. Think about Boston. Boston's been in the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals the last 6 years straight. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. So it's like you go back to the Miami team that made their run. Bam was important, but let's be clear, Jimmy and Tyler Hero. That was the thing. Like they were the guys that was like that was their ability. Is that my hand hitting again? Like Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It's because the mic is also down for all you see.
No.
So it literally is facing the desk. So anything that comes from the desk is like a fucking
it's loud. It's loud in my headphones. Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good though. I know it's gonna happen again. I'm just gonna do that when it happens.
While you were doing this, I was like, no, he's not just like saying "suck my dick" or something.
Yeah. I was, but that's actually what I meant.
I think that it's been the formula forever, even with the Bulls back in the day. Scotty and Michael, they both could handle the ball. They both could do their own thing, make their own offense. I think that maybe that's stretching it a little bit, but like,
a little bit.
I think for a long time, it's always been a 2-star solution. I think once the 3 ball has become the prominent thing, obviously it's going to be like the Steph and Clay, like these types of being your 2 best players, being the shooting guard and the point guard, essentially, quote unquote, or the small forward and the guard, LeBron and Kyrie. Like you look at all the best teams, you've always needed that. I feel like Rondo and Pierce and Ray Allen, like you can't just win when your big is your best player or your second best player.
There's obviously ones that,
yeah.
There's obviously examples against it. Like even you were just saying with the Celtics, there's no one who's putting like Garnett behind Rondo or Ray Allen.
Spurs win as many as they do without Ginobili.
But Tim Duncan was the best player on the team.
Tim Duncan was the best player on the team, but Parker and Duncan without Ginobili. And the rest of the rosters like Bruce Bowen or whatever it is, just no Ginobili, that would be a problem, I think. Even last year with Jokic was the best player on the Nuggets. It's like I'm not saying that it's not a winning formula. I'm just saying right now it's like we're seeing like a real highlight of it, especially going into these finals. If you want to say Tatum and Brown, I think but I do think you're right because even like we say 2 guard, and it's more like you said maybe 1 guard and 1 forward, like a point forward, because even Luka is objectively a guard, but still he can be a point forward, play big on defense. So I think I like what you're saying there with Kyrie and LeBron, obviously. Like it goes, there's a lot of examples. Yeah, Wayne Wade and LeBron, exactly. There's a lot of examples like that. And even if you want to say like, oh, you take out Garnett, I think Ray Allen and Paul Pierce were better. Then we get to that small forward shooting guard again. There's a lot of teams with point guards, who aren't very good, who end up winning. The Mario Chalmers of the Heat days. I don't want to hate on him, but you get the point.
Yeah. They're not the star players, but
he has some big shots.
Let's just rapid fire some free agents here. I kind of have them tiered. And then just give me like on a scale of 1 to 10, how desirable of a free agent they are.
All right, cool.
So I'm going to start with like the superstars, or we'll do this. Yeah. We'll start with the superstars. LeBron James.
Let's do 1 to 10, and then let's also pick one team that we think could use this player the most.
All right, perfect. All right, I'll start with LeBron.
The one team that I think could use him like a lot is this team that we were just talking about in Minnesota. I think he would be like the perfect piece, obviously, between Towns and Anthony Edwards. That's just a random team that will never happen, obviously. And then in terms of LeBron, just as a free agent, like. We're winding down here with him. So I think it's going to end up being just he'll go back to LA if I was to guess. But I think he's desirable at like I would say a 10. He's LeBron. So I think that.
All right, fair enough. I was going to say about an 8. I think if he'll sign like a 2-year deal as opposed to like a 4, like I think a 2-year max deal would be very desirable for LeBron.
It's like 1 year LeBron. Like it's fun, at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think. Because I know you mentioned Minnesota, and he'd be great for basically any team. So we can't be like, oh, like what would you, But at the end of the day, where I could realistically see him going, he's not going to go to a small market, in my opinion. Like you said, he's likely to stay in LA. I think that's a fine guess, and I think the other options are probably only really randomly back to Miami or Philadelphia.
Also, Golden State,
or maybe Golden State. All right, Paul George.
I have so many mixed feelings with this guy. I think desirable-wise, he's like a 7. And I think that in terms of the team, I think also we'll be back with the Clippers because they just re-upped Ty Lue. I'm sure a part of that was keeping Paul George. And, he has his podcast out there. I think George is a lifer in LA type of guy. He's from there, I think, originally, if I'm not mistaken. That's when he left the Indiana Pacers. That was the whole point. But, another B personality. I like Paul, like as a likable guy, a friend, like your homie. Yeah, I'm down to chill with Paul. To win me an NBA championship as the one, I don't believe that. So he has to be behind another player. and whatever Kawhi is, I'm sure you're going to get there at some point. But, what do you think about Paul?
I mean, I like Paul George. I think he's a fine player. I think he's had a really good career, but he's not someone I'm like busting down the doors for.
Wow.
I mean, it's tough. You're going to have to pay him a max contract, $40-50 million a year for 4 years. And, it's going to be tough to justify that.
That's tough. I mean, Jesus. I mean, maybe Orlando, go play with Paolo on a rookie. It's like,
I don't think it'll be good for them, but I could see Daryl Morey doing something like that, bringing Paul George to Philly.
With a need. We got to sign Maxey, though, right?
Yeah, but they got plenty of money now. They got rid of Tobias's contract. Kyle Lowry's off the books. Robert Covington off the books because they traded to free up space there. They got like almost unlimited contract, and they can pay Maxey the most. He's unrestricted. I mean, he's a restricted free agent too, so they can match anything anyone else offers. So there's really virtually no way that Maxey's leaving. I just so you know, with I don't have Kawhi. I only did unrestricted or player options. Any restricted free agents I just left off because they're mostly just going to to go back because the team is going to match.
Usually disingenuous because it means that unless the player had a horrific year, usually it means they're coming back.
Yeah, because they could just match the offer. Like Emmanuel Quickly, for example, I think it stays in Toronto. They'll just match anything, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just did unrestricted free agents. Zipping through them. Siakam, I do believe he's going to stay in Indiana because they could offer him the most money. It'd be weird for him to take less money to go somewhere else, especially with the discrepancy in money in the contract. But then again, if he does want to get out of there, I think he'd be very desirable. I think he'd be maybe after LeBron, the number one player I'd want.
Yeah, he's a great player. All series when I was sitting there watching him against the Knicks, I would always say that he's the X factor. I mean, when his jump shot's going, he's virtually unstoppable. He's got an unbelievable post game. He's smart. He's crafty. He can handle the ball. He's a fucking ball player. And he keeps his head down and he's with the shits for sure. If it gets whatever, ticky tack and whatever, the contact, he's not afraid of any of that. He's a champion. Big fan, Pascal Siakam, big time. So I think that desirable-wise is 9 for sure. And I could see him if Jimmy re-ups in Miami, I could see him going down there. That might be it with Bam. I think that could see
the only other thing is he's got his Cameroonian brother in Philly. I don't know if that'll have anything to do with it.
Yeah, but also his boy OG is in New York, so maybe they get Julius Randle out and get Siakam in. How you doing?
All right. Well, the only 2 other people I had left, we'll go through this a little quicker and then we'll get to the next tier are DeRozan and Harden. I kind of feel the same way about both of them. I like DeMar a little better. He's still dropping 24 a game. And
Harden, yeah. Man.
Harden passes the ball better. He gets more people involved, but defensively, he's when he wants to play defense, most of the time not. And DeRozan, I still feel like is a good if I'm the Timberwolves, because we keep using them as an example. If I'm the Timberwolves, I'd much rather have DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah. For that team, definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of
any competing team, any team that has a good team already, I think DeMar DeRozan is a nicer added piece than James Harden. But then again, James Harden will one game in the playoffs give you 40 and 20 and 10,
And I was going to say that in the Dallas series, watching him, he was engaged on defense. I saw multiple plays by him. I have to say honestly that I saw him in that specific series play much more engaged on the defensive end. But in general, you're right. It's just the jacket that he's been wearing his whole career. So he's still going to have to wear that jacket until he does it for a whole season or whatever the case may be, that he's not a defensive player at all. So yeah, I tend to agree. I think as an overall player, a guy that's trying to yearn for a championship and a guy that's going to do everything possible to win the championship is DeRozan. I feel like he's at that point in his career where he knows it's starting to dwindle a little bit, in terms of his career. So I think that him joining up on a team that maybe needs a 6-man to come in and get 20, or a guy that can come in and start when some injuries start happening to a team, whatever that contender might be. I think that's a place for DeMar. I don't like him as just a 1 on a random team. His career is just fading into the fucking night in Washington or one of these teams. I want to see him go to a contender and be a guy that can contribute when they need buckets and everyone's like, oh, that's DeMar. Almost like it's Jamal Crawford on the Clippers from back in the day. It's like, yo, don't be shocked. Like, this guy's going to go get you a bucket every fucking time you need it. And it's the guy that you wanted on your team for that reason. So that's why
it makes more sense for those dwindling bad teams to get a guy like James Harden and just sell for tickets and he'll get buckets.
And it's good for him. He's a stat-padding asshole, so it's perfect.
Yeah. All right, and now moving on to the next tier, which I have deemed as guys like you're probably going to have to overpay to get. It's only really a two-man tier. You mentioned him earlier. We're going to start with right away with OG Anunoby. He's a guy who had a really good year, but I don't think he's a, max or close to max kind of guy. But in this free agent class, with all of the real superstars being aging, I think he's going to demand a lot of money as a two-way player who showed a lot this year. So do you think he winds up back in New York? And if you do you think you'll have to overpay to get him?
There won't be an overpay, but I do think he'll be back in New York. I also think that his reputation is very good, obviously, from the defensive standpoint, and he's improved his shooting. I think his three-point shooting was a lot better with the Knicks than I've seen. I didn't know that he was such a great shooter coming into the Knicks. I think you mentioned that, actually, that you were like, actually, he's an underrated scorer, which when he first came in, because most people knew him as like the defensive specialist type of thing. But I also think that the injuries are a thing. He had the shoulder during the regular season, and then he had the leg thing, like that hamstring pull, whatever. So clearly he's a great player when he's on the court, but your best ability is availability is the phrase, right? So like, I love OG. I'm down to give him the 26, 28 million a year contract. Sounds good. No problem. But if he's asking for like 35, that has to probably walk out the door. I do not think the Knicks are going to trigger that. And then it gets to a point, where would he go? Again, I think a lot of the Western Conference teams could use a guy like OG in that slot, but I think the one team that would end up trying to sign him would be Indiana, and it would be the biggest fucking blunder in the Knicks organization if they let him walk out, because Pascal's going to call him. That's his boy. They won a championship together. That team is ready to, and just went to the conference finals. They got a nice blend of young guns. If they get TJ McConnell to come back, he's another unrestricted, I believe. So, we'll see, but I would expect the Knicks to bring it back because of how far they went, the injuries, and the opportunity and the love that he got from New York when he came in, and how good they were. I think it was like 26-5 when he was on the court for them during the regular season when he came over in the trade.
Yeah, I think it was a great trade for the Knicks. I think that they would be unwise to not re-sign him, even if they do have to overpay a little bit into that $30 million, $32 million, especially if the reports are true and Jalen Brunson is willing to take a little less and free up that space. I think that's exactly why you do it. You do it to keep a guy like OG and keep him off those other teams, because I do think if he isn't getting the number that he wants in New York, that there are other teams that'll be willing to give it to him because of what he's shown this year. I do agree that the injuries are concerning, but it's kind of we're at a point right now in the NBA where you need to get the guys to compete. It doesn't, if they get hurt, they get hurt. There's nothing you can really do. And even though we talked about the minute managing, I still don't think that OG's injuries are necessarily like, oh my God, that he's never going to be the same type thing. It just seems like, more, short-term things. He makes his way back. Obviously he wasn't his, wholehearted self when he came back in the Pacers series, but at least
would he come back for like 5 seconds anyway? It was like a quarter.
At least he gave the effort almost, least he, so we'll see what happens with OG. And the only other player I had in this category of might have to overpay to get, but is a nice player, is Malik Monk. I think highly of Malik Monk. I really like Kentucky guards. Obviously, we're seeing them take over Maxey, Booker, Murray, quickly. Malik Monk
can help the team win a championship for sure.
De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I agree. Monk has been that guy. I think no one really knows how good he is. Actually, he was on Sacramento for, if anybody didn't know. Got to see him during actually the regular season when I went to the Knicks Sacramento game. He put up like 25. He was the way they were staying in the game, to be honest, during that game. If you look back on the box score, you can double check me. But I remember telling Christy, I was like, yo, this guy Malik Monk, and he had a huge jam in the game off an alley-oop. His athletic, sneaky athleticism. I like me some Malik Monk. Not afraid of the moment. He has game winners from back in the day on some other teams when he had to be the one as the scorer on the team. So, yeah, he was on the Lakers, I believe. He was on Denver. He's had some good seasons. I
just remember him on the Kings, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think he went to the NBA Finals with a team Maybe it was he on not the Denver team, but maybe the LA team? Was that right? The Lakers team from the bubble? Was he on that team?
I don't think so, but
That
I'm
sounds
going to check you
familiar.
right
I don't know
now.
why. It sounds so familiar, and I feel like that's right. But if I'm wrong, that's cool. But I don't know why that's.
Oh, no. It says 21-22. He spent 1 year on the Lakers.
Yeah, so he was
I
on
think
the
that was the year after the bubble team.
Okay. I just remember seeing him in a Laker uniform at some point, like recently, and he played well for them.
And we both forgot he played for Charlotte the first 4 years of his career.
That's the team where he was like the one, and he had a few game winners on Charlotte. Like he hit a few, like I remember, like fading 3-pointers to win the game and shit. Like guys, definitely a veteran, a good player. I would not overpay for a guy like that. I would say. I think that's why continuously he goes to subpar franchises, because he takes the max dollar versus like maybe taking a little bit less to go play with a contender. But maybe he's at that point in his career where he's going to do that, and he's looking for a realistic deal. I also think one guy I want to add to the overpay category is Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that he's a guy that's commanding a lot of money right now because of his ability to pass, his ability to offensive rebound, and there not being a lot of guys like him in the NBA, to be honest. He's a very rare commodity. A guy that doesn't need the ball, that's just effective. He can hit the floater in the lane as well, so off the pick and roll. So I think he's one other guy that's going to be in the overpay category.
I had him in the category below. We're not going to get into that today. Maybe we'll get into that in another episode. There's just plenty of guys. But Hartenstein, I definitely think could find his way into that category, especially the way he played in the playoffs, with Mitch being down and really having to step up. He played some good hard minutes. It's a tough sell just because of the longevity of how long he's been a real contributing player,
right,
along with, just his limitations athletically. But still, I definitely think he could creep up into that category, maybe just below OG and Monk, in between
probably
the other guys.
Probably like a teens guy, like a 17, 18 million a year guy he should be at. And if he gets into 20 plus, that's an overpay to me.
I got you. And just to close out on Malik Monk, he's a guy who has been getting better, pretty much every year. Start at 8 points to 9 points to 10 to 11 to 13. This year, 15. I think he was second in the sixth man of the year to Naz Reid. But I think he is a great piece for a team that's already doing well. He's a winner. I remember him and Fox after Kentucky lost in the NCAA tournament on the podium, being upset, crying. It's kind of like the anti-Towns Gobert. Like, these guys want to win. They're dedicated. They're not as talented as those guys. They don't have the size. They don't have the natural gift of ability, but they just want to win so bad. And those kinds of guys are the guys that I want on my team. And like I said, just to get back to like that John Calipari guard coaching, it's similar to like, DBs coming out of Miami or linebackers coming out of Penn State back in the day, just kind of that pedigree of they're getting coached right in college, prepared for the NBA, almost like they're like a year older when they get to the NBA, if you will.
Right.
They come into the NBA as a second-year player versus a rookie because Calipari cared more about prepping these guys to be NBA players and success in their lives than he even did for winning with Kentucky, which is why he's at Arkansas now, but still.
Yeah, it's professional programs, though. They're just professional programs in college. So when you put a professional program in whatever it is, Ryan Day, whoever these guys are that have professional type of, ways of doing whatever it is, coaching.
Especially when it's positionally. And I was talking about Miami D-backs earlier. I was more like I was thinking of like the early 2000s, older times, but even like, Alabama D-back who's been coached by Nick Saban, he specifically handles the defensive backs. Like whoever like is the guard coach at Kentucky, I'm sure Calipari plays a role, but like there's specific positions, like I said, where those guys are coached right, and then also they seem to recruit the guys with that same mentality. Even Jamal Murray, I give a lot of criticism to, but he's one of those serious guys in those serious moments, wants the ball, is a gamer, competitor, and I feel like they have those kinds of guys. So I just tapped my desk, so we're even now. All right, let's get into the Hots Corner.
Hots Corner. I know we know the fans are waiting. We're here.
I'm excited.
We wouldn't actually do a show without doing the Hots Corner. So all you Sixers and Hots heads know out there.
Of course.
Just because we just had a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on. We're at the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals.
It's the backbone of the show. Let me know when you're ready. I think I got some good ones today.
Run it.
All right. Chipotle or Taco Bell? Eliminate one forever.
Taco Bell.
Best and one mixtape hooper of all time.
Skip to my Lou.
Most annoying first world problem. You want to pass?
Well, pass. Great question.
Best sports documentary of all time.
I like the Bulls one.
The Last Dance?
Last Dance.
Would you rather be a cop or a firefighter?
Cop.
Would you rather go as a fan to the Little League World Series or the College Baseball World Series?
The Little League World Series.
Eminem concert or Jay-Z concert?
Right now, Eminem.
Would you rather play drums in a band or guitar in a band?
Drums.
Would you rather eat 24 eggs in 24 hours or 8 bacon cheeseburgers in 24 hours?
Run it back.
Would you rather eat 24 eggs in 24 hours or 8 bacon cheeseburgers in 24 hours?
24 eggs in 24 hours.
Worst franchise history, Mets or Knicks?
Probably, if I was being an honest bull, it would be the Knicks.
Most annoying first world problem.
Most annoying first world problem. Just like losing service when I need service, I would say.
I like that one. That's a good one. All right, let's go over them. I had some fun ones in here. Definitely some fun topics.
All right. I like the non-sports. Like I like the life ones. I feel like that's where the meat is. That's like the funny shit.
Yeah. So Chipotle or Taco Bell, eliminate one forever. I couldn't be more in agreement. I eat Chipotle like once a week after the gym. I have like my Chipotle night.
I can't even. Not even a thought. Nothing entered my brain. Just the names. I didn't even ponder the question. It was so fast.
Yeah. It might have. I mean, it was too easy.
Is heavy. So Wendy's, Taco Bell, split driveway. Never going there. Wendy's only.
Yeah.
So
there are sickos in the world who would pick Taco Bell. Is the crazy thing. Like,
I know. If you asked Christy, I'd be interested to hear what she would say because she's had run-ins with Chipotle. But she orders dog shit at Chipotle, for the record. She orders like the quesadilla and all this ranch shit. I'm not getting a rice. I'm getting a rice bowl, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Half steak, half chicken. You're gonna see me with the hot sauce. You're gonna see me with the guac. You're gonna see me.
Dude, I'm just like rice, double protein, whatever I'm feeling that day. Cheese, beans, double beans, or.
And then I get to the register and they say, "Do you have guac?" I say, "I don't know. Do I have guac?"
Yeah. You got queso in there? I don't know. You let me know.
I don't know. You want to charge me? Charge me. Go ahead.
I usually order online and pick it up. I'm like, I don't even mess with waiting. I'm like Chipotle rewards. Like I get like a free fucking thing every like few months. I'm all about that. I'm in and out. I can't do. Sometimes I walk in there and the line is insane, and I just walk right out and my food's there. But the people who are like Taco Bell people are like the people who are like, yeah, I love like churro fries or like gordita Crunchwrap Mountain Dew,
special Mountain Dew, the blue Mountain Dew.
Yeah. They're like, I was like, I just heard Doritos, Mountain Dew, Cheetos.
You're going to a kid's birthday party like fucking dinner.
And it's one fucking order. It's like one item has all these different things featured about it. It just
a theme park of food. I can't do that stuff. It makes me nauseous just thinking about it. To be honest, just the way it's presented. It's like, yeah, get your Gatorade, Mountain Dew, tacos. Yeah. Like, oh
I won't lie. The little like whatever they season like the chicken quesadilla with. Once every like 4 years, if I like wind up eating Taco Bell, that's what I'll get, and I'm always like, man, that's a pretty good, tasty little sauce. But other than that, the people who like Taco Bell more than Chipotle are either 11 years old or 11 years old in their mind. But moving on. Best and one mixtape hooper of all time. I love that you went with Skip to My Lou, Rafer Alston, because he actually transitioned to the NBA.
That's the
so point. You can't really argue. So I'm just gonna throw out some honorable mentions: The Professor, Headache. Escalade.
Sauce,
Rest in
hot
peace.
sauce.
Yeah, hot sauce.
Come on.
I loved Escalade. He was fucking awesome.
Escalade, sick passer. Great passer.
Yeah, I still pull up his highlights sometimes. Rest in peace, Escalade.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that one, I mean, there's a good, we're going to get into documentaries later, but the And One documentary is pretty cool on Netflix. And just remember, it also like just brought me back to that time where it was like appointment TV, like ESPN2, Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, the And One mixtape tour would come on and like someone would get cut. It was like a good sports reality TV show on top of being sports.
Have fucking gold late at night, like random ass shit, like whether it be like slam ball or whatever it was at each of its times, like the random late night shit. Like, oh my God.
It was always like in the pit of like the baseball season with no other sports going on. They'd start putting on like, 10 p.m. Stump to Schwab, new season. Like,
it's
you
like
know,
century shows. It's like the best shit ever.
Yeah. No, you're right. I really like that old ESPN programming. Even like ESPN Classics. I mean, obviously everyone has the app now, you know, the ESPN whatever plus, but it used to just like turning from like ESPN Classic to ESPN News to ESPN2 to ESPNU, like that, like even that used to be a lot of fun, but obviously those days are dying. But that show was amazing, and Skip to My Lou I think is the correct answer, like the one that you can't really argue with. So most annoying
Professor is special consideration because, you know,
famous
white kid from the suburbs that love to focus on my handle and shoot, like literally the epitome of what I would imagine a street baller being,
and undebatably more impactful for And One than Ray for Alston was.
And still travels to this day, going court to court and doing his thing on his own stream that he's been having. Yeah. The Professor shouts to the Professor, like has been doing it from the earth forever and still keeps it with the people. Like the man.
That And One mixtape tour blew up after he got on it because, like you said, he's a white guy from the suburbs, short, and just could hoop. And like he was the first person to get on the bus as like the new guy trying to join the team. Like I said, the reality TV aspect, and he made it the entire time. Like he beat out the best person in that city week in and week out. I think that like 3 of them made it, but like he was there from the very beginning and he stayed in that top 3 the entire time. Like also, no one could take his spot.
Probably you could say the best nickname for a basketball player.
Yeah. It was a cool, fit him, suited him perfectly. Yeah. All right, and most annoying first world problem, losing service. Losing service is a very good one. Just in general, you're like, even if you just have bad Wi-Fi in a hotel room, you're like, what the fuck?
Oh, annoying. You know? Especially when you need it. Like you're trying to like put into directions into Google Maps and you don't have service, so you're trying to like get the GPS started. Anytime you lose service, you're fucking crazy. Like you're losing your mind.
Oh yeah, mine is oriented. When I just went to the Poconos and I like was using the GPS and like I accidentally closed it. And then like I tried to get it going again and it like didn't have service and I'm like, oh my God, like only like 1 bar, it like took mad long to load up, saying like we're just on map mode, like off of online mode. I'm like, what the fuck? And eventually I got enough service.
You gotta keep driving because you're trying to find service, so it's a trap. So it's like if you stay still, you're not gonna get the service. So then you're driving aimlessly because you can't get started because you're in the Poconos. Like fuck. Like
mine is also phone related, but on a kind of different tip. Mine is just people talking on the phone loudly in public. In general, it just drives me insane. And I guess that happens in smaller world countries too, but just third world problem is in like, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. But
public is, whatever. Public is public. The main one that I would say on the back of what you're saying is public transportation.
Yes, and that's why I was going into that as well. On the train, on a airplane before he takes off, and then they're like not hanging up when the lady's telling, and he's like, just give me 1 more second. That shit drives me insane. Like everyone else has to listen to you. I'll tell you what made me think of this is I go in the sauna at the gym, recovery, and I'll go in the sauna, and I don't even like it when people talk to each other in the sauna who are in there together like friends. Like, that's not a reasonable expectation of me for them to shut up, but it does just bother me.
I know what you mean. In that type of a thing, sauna, steam room, it should just be guy mode silence.
Relaxation, meditation.
Yeah, it should be guy mode silence. Everyone should be calmed right there. I agree with you.
But then, so this went beyond that. This guy was on his phone in the sauna. And I like almost punched him in the face. I'm like, this is the most disrespectful shit I ever seen. What are you doing? Like, this is the sauna. You're on the phone. Like, I can't even hear because like even when people are talking, you hear what the other person's saying. You can almost get like some white noise, like observation from it.
It's not been for serious chat. It's just been for like Nice.
But
Yeah.
this guy's like on the phone, like talking to his wife about like, make sure you remember the eggs and the milk. Like you could do that after the fucking sauna, or you could send a text. Like you don't need to be.
That's just also like no. That's just no behavior anyway. That's not like a thing I've seen a lot of people do. That's fucking dumb. That guy's a dumb.
Yeah, that drove me crazy. And again, this is first. I'm sure people talk on the phone on the train in third world countries, but I just mean those people probably don't get.
Oh yeah.
Those people probably don't get.
Most common that I would say I let it slide because the train could be. You have someone picking you up on the other end. There could be something involved.
Or you could text. But either way, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in third world country. I'm saying like it doesn't bother them as much because they're going home and like thinking, how am I going to eat today or whatever. Like where I have food and money and all that stuff. Where it's like it just bothers me because I don't have bigger things in my life to worry about. So I'm not trying to say third world people don't have those assholes. They're fucking universal. But moving on. Best sports documentary of all time, The Last Dance. Great answer. I think that was a spectacular documentary. I really like the Wilt Chamberlain one, Goliath, on Paramount Plus.
I haven't seen that.
That one's very good. The second 2 episodes especially. One that is probably my personal favorite. I maybe wouldn't say the best. Is the one on Netflix about the Danbury Trashers, the minor league hockey team.
That was recently.
That was fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. It basically is a guy buys a minor league hockey team, and to make them great, he like employs like his mob like tactics. Like he was like, giving hockey players like no-show jobs on construction sites to like pay them more money than other teams could. And like he made his son like the GM at like age 19, you know, and
oh my God.
Like it was like some real Tony Soprano shit. The guy was a sanitation worker, went to prison, you know, and these guys all love, and like for one or before, obviously eventually it all comes down, you know, like they can't sustain it, but for like one or two seasons, like there was just this, you know, absolute like love affair with this team and Danbury, Connecticut. And the players and the mob owner, like they just, there's so much going on there, but so much fun and just so unique. It's a must watch, I would say. I think it's called like Crime and Penalties or something like that. Maybe that's a different one, but it's from the Untold.
There's another one. There's another one I want to say is a special shout out. Is gunning for that #1 spot. It's a basketball doc about prospects coming out from draft the year Kevin Love was drafted. So it's Kevin Love, Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley, and basically the whole doc is following all of their stories in all their hometowns, and it leads to a game at Rucker Park where they play 5-on-5, and it's like, and this is like all film and all that stuff. So you see like Michael Beasley's team go against what's called Lance Stevenson's team. I'm trying to remember some other players. I think maybe Raymond Felton was also that year. It was a cool game though. So it's called Gunning for that #1 spot. You probably will have to Google it to find it, but it's an incredible doc. I've seen it on YouTube. I remember it being on YouTube. So you can like stumble off whatever username posted the whole entire movie. So that's another one. Shout out to that one, and then
I wrote that one down.
The Dynasty one is good too.
I wrote that one down. Dynasty is good. A couple other honorable mentions just off the top of my head.
The Bills, like the Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells doc on ESPN, the 30 for 30. That's
ESPN 30 for 30 with Belichick and Parcells. Obviously, I have the 30 for 30 locker. Obviously, there's a lot of great ones. Broke, Run Ricky Run. Mm-hmm. The one about the Miami team.
Oh, the Fab Five. Oh man, that probably is. That might be. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, the Fab Five one. Obviously, another one from the Untold, Swamp Kings, the Florida Gator documentaries.
Yeah, wow.
That one was awesome. Sick. And I got to throw it back to the OG. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Hoop Dreams.
Oh yeah, of course.
OG.
That might be that's on Rushmore, I think.
No, I think Hoop Dreams walked so these other documentaries could run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I saw Hoop Dreams on like Showtime when I was maybe in just before middle school or 6th grade, and I like made my mom get it for me for Christmas. I've watched Hoop Dreams at least a dozen times. I brought the DVD like to college in my dorm room, and my friend Kyle was like, dude, you have Hoop Dreams on DVD? That's incredible. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I also have Playmakers, the ESPN show. It was like, yo, I was like instantly cool. Like I became cool.
Yeah. It was just like, it was like receipts to let you know, like, all right.
Yeah, I know sports. I know sports. But Hoop Dreams, you know, shout out to Arthur and William. They're like the two main leads of it. Just guys trying to play college basketball in Chicago. One of them a lot more touted than the other one. He ended up at Marquette. The other guy played, I want to say like JUCO or, D3 or something like that. But they like played against each other in like the city championship. And the one who's like less touted, had a great game and won. And it's an unbelievable documentary. And it's
Classic.
like Hoop Dreams is the perfect name for it. It's just like, it's amazing also to see like in that time period of like the 90s, like just how different life was, like there was no cell phones, these guys just like carried around a basketball with them everywhere. Like you don't see that anymore. Like that was like normal. Like everywhere you have football, basketball, the baseball glove.
Now everything's like everything's texted and confirmed or not confirmed or whatever.
So now you're like, oh, you bring the ball as opposed to like you just always had a ball on you in case a game broke.
Or you just show up at the park and there's always a ball there. Like
exactly. But yeah, Hoop Dreams is a great one. Going on, would you rather be a cop or a firefighter? You said cop.
Yeah, it's easy. I'd be able to just, kind of just skirt by, sit at construction sites, just like, I feel like there's a way to be a cop and be like out of the thick of it in a sense versus like a firefighter. Like fires are fires, no matter if they're in the suburbs or the city. Like it's a fire, like you're putting your life on the line anytime you're actually getting in the middle of something there versus like a cop. Also with a cop, you're yielding power. Like no one respects a fireman. Like in terms of like society wise and like with a gun versus like breaking laws. Like I'm not afraid of breaking laws.
I don't know if no one respects a firefighter.
That's not what I mean. We all respect firemen, but no one respects a fireman as if like he's a cop.
Yeah, no, I think my takeaway from it is I'd rather be a firefighter. My big takeaway is I don't know if you're accurate in saying like you can avoid like getting in the shit as a cop, and not necessarily like maybe if you're in a great neighborhood like you're not gonna maybe get shot at, but in terms of like you have to like get a kid in trouble for like smoking weed, you have to like pull over people driving too fast. Like I wouldn't want to be like
life's not on the line though.
Yeah, no, but most days in a fire house and most of them you're not going out like multiple times a day. It's like once a day is like a tremendous amount of fires. The rest of the time you're just hanging out at the firehouse playing cards, chilling, and you work like 2 days in a row and then you're off for like 5 if you want to have like a second business.
Trying to tell us he just wants to slide up and down poles. You guys just aren't listening close enough. Apparently all you guys
and Zach just wants to shoot black people.
No, that's fucked up.
Nah, but don't bring it if you don't want to send back. But but getting back to my point is I wouldn't enjoy like getting people in trouble. That would be like a very like sad lifestyle.
Yeah, being a snitch sucks. That would suck. Yeah. That part of it would suck.
I could like fast forward to maybe like being like a homicide detective and like doing like but if I like that sounds like something cool. If I could like really track down traffic cop, I don't know, like or like state trooper, like pulling people over speeding.
Not like a state trooper, but like a traffic cop, someone that directs traffic, or they sit at construction sites and just watch over construction sites, essentially.
But then you're just like poor.
No, there was cops that in Florida, I swear to God. I remember a couple years back, I was at this party, and I met somebody at the party, and he was telling me he's a cop in Florida, and a big part of his job, he makes 6 figures, and a big part of his job is just sitting at construction sites and overseeing them, and he just watches Netflix on his monitor in his car. That's like what he does. So like there are a lot of cops. There are a lot of cops doing nothing to make a lot of money.
I think that's better
like a firefighter. If you have to get into the shits, like there's no avoiding like what's about to happen when you're walking.
But there's also a lot of calls that are like, cat stuck in a tree. This person,
alarms.
Like I got this guy stuck on a roof. I gotta just bring a ladder. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of shit like that too. Yeah, that like, and like I said, I also like the firefighter. It's also cool that you like work 2 days, you stay in the firehouse, then you're off for like 5 days. You like start a second business. There's other things you could do.
You're making a good sale. You're kind of.
But I mean, I have no problem with cops. If you want to be a cop, great. I don't think your answer is necessarily wrong. Me personally, like I said, unless I could skip to where I really felt like I was doing a cool cop job, which I know you probably don't do for like 10 to 15 years. No, those first 10 to 15 years would be hard. Like, I would never want to like give a kid a UPM for marijuana or like if I see like a single mom like crying, like speeding.
You also have the power to not give the UPM.
But then I feel like if I just always didn't give the UPL, like if I'm just on the force for
sale, it depends on the sale.
Nah, if I'm on the force for like 2 years and I didn't make a single arrest, like there's obviously they'll fire you or like.
Tom and I got ran up by an undercover when we were kids, when we were smoking a blunt, and I mean, he didn't give us a UPM. He let us walk away because we threw the blunt. He kind of went and walked and found it because Tommy's an idiot and just threw it kind of close by. And the guy was just smelling where it was smoking from in the grass. He didn't give us one though. So we got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had cops turn a blind eye to. I'm not saying you have to, but there's like you have to at some point do it to some people, you know.
For sure,
like,
yeah.
And it's tough. So that's my point there. But like I said, if you pick cop, you didn't pick wrong. It's just a preference thing.
That was a good one.
Would you rather go to the Little League World Series or the College Baseball World Series?
Yeah, this one's easy for me because I feel like Little League has so much electricity. It just gets sick, especially when you're there. I feel like anytime I see Little League Baseball, I'm feeling juiced. Like Little League Baseball has so much juice because it's just raw emotion on the field with kids playing, and I was there and I played and been in those moments. I know what it feels like, and nothing better than Little League Baseball. Good at that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I've been 4 or 5 times to the Little League World Series in Williamsport. I saw Monet Davis, the female pitcher, live. I've seen, you know, the amazing Japanese teams go out there and perform. It's kind of insane to watch kids at that age, the way they like throw the ball around the infield like a major league team. It's pretty crazy to see. And yeah, it's also what I've labeled the best free event in sports. You don't have to pay to go to the Little League World Series. You just show up and walk in. And it's not like the food or anything is expensive. It's the cheapest. It's like the Masters. You know, you get, you know, $2 hot dogs, $3 funnel cakes. You know, you're definitely buying merch when you're there because you can afford it because you're not spending money on food. You're getting cool. I got jerseys. I got hats. You know, so I always had a great time. You know, I like pretend to be a little kid. I like slid down the hill on cardboard one time, you know, doing all that crazy stuff. You know, it's like sports bucket list stuff for me. And it's
in Omaha, right? Where they have the final. Is that right?
The Williamsport is the Little League. Omaha is the college baseball World Series. Cool. Yeah, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So I've gone many times. I've taken the ride. One time me and Cruz went to a Drake and Lil Wayne concert. We go to leave early because we're going all the way to Williamsport, getting a hotel, and then going to the games the next day. And as I'm walking out early, it's like the encore performance, you know, on stage. Everyone's going crazy. And I'm walking down, like, with my face still towards the stadium as I'm walking down the stands. And I, like, brush shoulders with someone, and I turn to say sorry. And they're saying sorry at the same time. It's fucking Rihanna. No bullshit. Fucking bumped into Rihanna coming out, looking the other way. And we both just said sorry. I didn't ask for like an autograph, a picture, or anything, because I literally like was turned to stone. It was like looking at Medusa. I was like, do not compute. Like, I was literally starstruck. I've met stars. I've gambled with NFL players on poker tables. Like Evan Longoria, I played poker with. Just kept it all casual. Never asked for no picture, nothing like that. But her, I had legit starstruck. Like, I couldn't believe it. This was at the old tennis stadium they turned into a concert venue in Queens. She was like dating Drake at that time, you know, and that was just insane. I was, and then once it happened, like then you saw some people kind of trailing, try to like run up in security, like be like, and she even took a few pictures with people to her credit. But I was like, I'm not fucking. I just said sorry, like, and she said sorry back, and that was it. Like, I almost expected like a star to be like, why the fuck you even touching me? She was like, said sorry at the same time. I did.
Barbados, she was fucking kick the shit out of you. Holy shit.
Her security guards would kill me.
Was she taller? Was she taller than you?
She was probably a little shorter than me. But I don't know if she was wearing heels or whatever, but she was just under my eye line. But it was crazy. Like, it was insane. But then we went to Little League World Series straight from there.
That's
an amazing time. But College World Series, I'm sure you got to pay a bunch of money, and I've never cared about a college baseball team in my life.
Don't care until you get to the majors.
Eminem or Jay-Z concert?
Yeah, I've seen Jay. I've never seen M, so that was why I said that. That was simple.
Yeah, I kind of have the same answer. I never seen Eminem, and I have seen Jay-Z. So, but also like I'm not super interested in either one, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I had to.
Yeah, I could probably do most of the raps. That's cool. Like I've done it, you know. And he's a legend. I
want to see like Benny the Butcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll see some Conway right now. Exactly. So not the first rapper. talking about right now.
And he said Conway, not Kanye. Just so everybody
Conway.
knows.
Conway the Machine.
Moving on. Would you kept the musical? Would you rather play drums or guitar in a band?
Yeah, I like drums. I've always liked drums. I had a pad when I was a kid. I had a snare as well, and I had a hi-hat cymbal, like it was connected. I had that in my basement when I was a kid, so I tried. I was not good, but
my first comment was like, "You definitely sucked," because I never heard you mention this before.
I always loved music. I had a music house. My sister and my dad played piano, so I play well. So I've always grew up in a music house, kind of vinyls and all this shit. Big music.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
no, I agree.
Guitar, I tried once. My sister played a little bit, and I tried it, and fingers. Like I liked playing sports, so the fingers thing. As soon as that started happening, I was like, I don't like no.
Yeah, guitar is hard, and it does mess with your fingers. You got to keep your nails super short. Drums, I think, is just like kind of a fun where like you're in the background a little bit, but still you're like the coolest one. Like if you like ask girls who's their favorite member of the band, I think like a majority of them would say drums. If maybe lead singer would push it a little bit, but I think majority of instrumentalists that would be selected would be the drummers.
Also, if we bomb, there's someone leading the way. Like you're not leading the way as a drummer, but if we do well, you're also not leading the way in terms of having to get all the like press and stuff like that. Like any way you slice it, the drummer I feel like is most cool.
And you still can like get a sick solo. Like usually at every rock concert I've seen, the drummer gets one cool solo. Right. Like you could friggin' you could do a lot of cool things, flipping the sticks around where it's like there's a visual aspect to it. Like obviously with the guitar, I've seen people throw it over their shoulders, cool shit like that too. But people, Jimmy playing with his teeth, shit like that. But for the most part, the drummers are the ones who are like kind of the swaggiest in terms of the visual while they play. Even when they like break a stick and just like throw it in the crowd and pull another one out from like their drumstick holster.
The drummer from the Chili Peppers, who was doppelganger Will Ferrell, like he always wore his backwards hat. Fucking man, I forget his name.
Obviously, Travis Barker, going back to the days, you got like Neil Peart, you got Calhoun on Zeppelin. There's a lot of great drummers, but even Meg White, I feel like is an underrated drummer. Fucking smashed that shit with Jack White and the White Stripes. Moving on. This one I felt was fun. Would you rather eat 24 eggs in 24 hours or 8 bacon cheeseburgers in 24 hours? You went with eggs.
Yeah, burger. That's too much burger. Like I feel like I'd start throwing up. Like an egg, like that's not a lot to be honest. I eat 3 eggs when I do eat breakfast. So 1 egg, like I would just wolf that every hour. Like that's easy money. Salt,
I didn't even think of an egg an hour, but then you gotta like stay up all night. Like but you could eat more than an egg an hour. You could have like 4 eggs for breakfast.
I don't want to eat bacon cheeseburgers in my body, and that's fucking gross.
You gotta think that's like 8,000 calories in 24 hours.
I would be vomiting. I could handle the eggs. I would vomit that.
Yeah, I guess. I think, like you said, even if you ate 4 eggs.
Yeah.
4 eggs every hour for 6 hours, you could probably do that. I mean, 24 eggs sounds like it sucks now the more I think about it. But at least you could have some variety with it.
You could think about that. That's gross to think about, too. Like, thinking about it is disgusting. You just have to do it. But I feel like in the process of doing it, that would be an easier process.
Yeah, I think for 12 hours, I could just like eat 2 hard-boiled eggs every 12 hours, just real quick, like chunk them out.
I would probably do like scramble.
Just scramble everything?
Yeah, scramble everything.
Oh, man. I think I'd have to mix it up. But I would
scramble, maybe like sunny side up on another. Yeah, that's the other thing with eggs. Like you can make them differently, so it would make me feel better about how I'm eating them. That too.
Yeah, but then you got to think because if you have to eat all of them, you can't like be like, oh, I'm gonna make toast with this one because your stomach's gonna be too full.
Yeah,
like, you can't add anything to them. You can only do the different styles of eggs.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think
I'd just be like Casey and be disgusting and just put all 24 eggs into a blender and just drink it whole.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Man, shit.
Nah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, could I even in 24 hours if I could even eat 8 bacon, egg, and cheeseburgers? I'm not sure I could.
There's no way.
Yeah.
For me, there's no way.
I mean, it depends. Are we talking like Wendy's bacon cheeseburgers, or are we talking like Chili's bacon cheeseburger?
We're talking like a homemade. I was thinking like a real burger, like a real.
Yeah, like at least.
We're thinking something. Yeah.
If it is like Wendy's or something, it's got to be at least like the biggie bag. Because if it's just like a junior bacon cheeseburger, I could eat 8 of those for sure.
Those are small. They're junior.
Yeah. But if we're talking about like a real, like a triple, like a bacon triple or something, or baconator, that's dead.
A Whopper. 8 Whoppers.
But all right, last one is the worst franchise history: Knicks or Mets. You went with the Knicks. I think it's close. They both have 2 championships overall. The
More
Knicks
final
had
appearances for you guys, though.
Yeah, and more recently, true, but I think. But the Knicks had like the 90s, at least where they were relevant, like the entire decade. The Mets, I guess, were kind of like that in the 80s, but more the second half of it. Playoff appearances, I think the Knicks might have the Mets edged out a little bit. But
like total playoff appearances, they do.
Yeah.
If that's true, that might sway it then.
It
was close. The reason for the fans out there, because I'm a Knicks fan and a Yankees fan, but as you can see, the Yankees, baby, what's the 2 games past 2 days, and it's fucking nasty for the record. But in terms of the Mets being over the Knicks, I was saying that because the Mets have been to more championship series and they have the equal amount of championships. That was the sole thing.
So I think I might maybe change your answer here. Wait till you hear this. So the Mets have made the playoffs. How many times do you think the Mets have made the playoffs in 63 years?
In 63 years, I would say 15 times.
10 times.
All right.
So in 76 seasons, how many times do you think the Knicks have made the playoffs?
Oh, interesting. 25?
41.
Oh,
so I think like the 60s, 70s, 90s, they were like really good for like the entire, like they probably got 30 of those 41 in those 3 decades, you know? So I guess the Mets have, like I said, they've been to the World Series as recently as 10 years ago, 9 years ago. They've been to the World Series before that in 2000. That's the last time the Knicks have even been in Eastern Conference. So maybe modern, we'll say Mets. But it seems like in totality, we might have to go Knicks. I mean, 41 to 10 playoff appearances, 10 playoff appearances in 63 years.
How many of those years? Okay, all right. This is gonna hurt to say again, but I'm gonna soul. How many of those years that the Knicks are making the playoffs are just fucking bullshit when Chauncey Billups on crutches as our point guard and we're making it as the 8th seed and disingenuously? Like, I hear you. And there were the years with Tyson Chandler, Defensive Player of the Year, and they had Amari, and it was cool a couple seasons. Yes, but all right.
I'm just real quick. I'm like since 2005. 1, 2, 3. There's only been 6 of those appearances, so it's not like a lot of those are filled with Chauncey Billups years. Like
or Patrick years.
The last, it's more those Patrick Ewing years. Like I said, basically from the late 80s to the early 2000s, they were in the playoffs like every year.
Anthony Mason years.
Those years with Allen Houston, Sprewell, all those Starks.
Those
like
years,
those, and then also, like I said, in the, the 50s, 60s, 70s, they had a lot of them. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
90s,
I'm pessimistic towards the Knicks because the Knicks always break my heart. So.
Well, the only argument against the playoffs, too, well, not the only one, but another one is that the NBA has always had bigger playoffs than the MLB. Especially back in the day, like the
also
MLB would just have
the East. Like as a
totality, the MLB would only have 8 playoff teams total.
Yeah.
The NBA had 8 playoff teams per conference. Yeah, so that's another. So the playoff experiences is skewed. I think we're going to side with Knicks on this to close it out. We're running a little long today. We'll get right into the verbal flop. Started off with my shitty ass fucking Mets being fucking terrible once again.
We were just talking about the Mets and how I was just giving them credit. So now a Mets fan is about to destroy them. Are you guys all ready?
No, they fucking suck. Jorge Lopez on the Mets has having a rough outing. There really wasn't much for him to be like that worked up about in that game in terms of calls. And still he wound up throwing his glove into the crowd. I don't think I've ever seen that out of frustration. Not like to bless a fan at the end of a game, out of frustration. Tossed it. After the game, he was asked about it. He asked if he regretted it. He said no. Something about, I play on the worst fucking team in the MLB. He later said that he meant like I'm the worst teammate in the MLB. I think that might be spin, but even giving him the benefit of the doubt, he still said he didn't regret it. He said things along the lines of, if they want me here tomorrow, I'll be here tomorrow. He wasn't there tomorrow. He got DFA'd.
He got designated for assignment for anybody that's wondering.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a rough one. I don't see how you bounce back from that. Anything to add there?
Nah, I mean, I'm sure he'll make his way back at some point or another into the MLB, whatever, to another team. But he'll have to wear this for a little bit, and it's a stain for sure for no reason. But
and I've heard some unconfirmed reports that he's having stuff outside of baseball. like that's messing with his life. And if he is, I want him to get help with that stuff and wish him the best. I think family stuff going on. I don't want to speak. It's like I said, it's all unconfirmed.
Yeah.
I don't want to say specifically what's been said because I don't know for sure. But if he is having family stuff going on and that's, kind of matriculated to a blow up at work, which is what this is for him at the end of the day, that kind of sucks. But still, what the fuck are you doing throwing your glove? Like maybe just vent to someone, talk to the team psychiatrist, do what you got to do.
Man just got a fucking major leaguer's glove. That's pretty sick.
That's true. Yeah, he might have to like scratch Jorge Lopez and make it like someone else's name on there or something.
Maybe it's Javi Lopez. No one even knows.
Yeah. But another quick verbal flop. Last night watching the UFC, there was a guy stuck in an armbar. His name is Michael Oleksiejczuk. That's me trying to pronounce it as best I could. Michael Oleksiejczuk against Kevin Holland. And Kevin Holland had him in an armbar, and he told him, I'm going to break your arm if you don't tap. The guy just continued to not tap, and he broke his arm. What are you doing in that situation, I'm wondering?
Not getting my arm broken and tapping.
I'm not even getting in the ring, so
that of course. But
yeah, I'm obviously tapping. I've done jiu-jitsu. I'm a one-stripe white belt. Just so everybody knows, don't fuck with me.
What is the point of that? Just do it, break it, just break it.
Yeah. I don't get it at all. Now
understand.
You're going to be out for 6 months or whatever. Can't train, can't get better. Hopefully it's a lesson learned for the guy. Sometimes you're too tough for your own good. Respect, but also, be smarter. Got to make better choices.
Now you're going to be out for a while. You have to rehab all that now, all because you could have just tapped and got what Ori was coming to you, which was an L.
And seeing as we're just a Knicks and Mets podcast now, what did Josh Hart say?
All right, yeah. So Josh Hart was, on the pivot with Ryan Clark and the boys, and basically said that Derek White was more important to the Celtics than Jason Tatum. That's a little crazy. That we would say that's a verbal flop where we're from. Absolutely, Jason Tatum is an All NBA first team, and if you argue with that, he's minimally the All NBA second team. So you can't say a guy like Derek White, who probably is having a lot of success because he plays with Tatum and Brown. It's not the other way around. Let's be clear. White's production and his growth and his ability to take on the third best player on a court on a given night, or maybe even the fourth with Drew, like who knows? He could be getting the short end of the stick in terms of the defensive matchup every night for him. And then he has the ability to focus in on his defense because his offense, comes with, playing basically off of the two of the best wings in the game. So that's a crazy verbal flop, Josh. I understand what you're saying, that Derek White's having a great year. You could argue he's been their best defender at points and times during the season. But still, no.
Yeah, we love Derek White on this podcast.
Hell yeah.
We've talked about him as a future MVP bet kind of guy, as like your sneaky Iguodala kind of answer there. Yep. We've talked about how well he's played. He's been huge in these playoffs. But let's just take a look at this like macro, if you don't have Jason Tatum on the Celtics, and if you don't have Derek White on the Celtics, which Celtics team is better? It's the one with Jason Tatum on it. There's no real way to.
Look at previous years, they went to the final without Derek White. What the fuck?
And I liked it. Like I said, I like Derek White a lot. And Josh Hart has kind of said I could tell you this guy's more impactful without it being a negative thing about Jason Tatum. But it's like, well, no, not really. If you're saying the other guy's better when he's clearly not better, it's a verbal flop. I'm sorry. More impactful, better, whatever you want to say. There's no one more impactful than him or him or Brown on that team. Jaylen Brown on that team. So it's crazy to say Derek White is the most impactful player on the Celtics, or more impactful than Jason Tatum. And this came while they were ranking, I think the players in the playoffs left, and they were like, oh, Luka, Kyrie, and then they were, someone I think may have said Tatum, or they were kind of waiting for Hart to say Tatum. Kind of got a little baited into it. I think they
the Tatum was parachuted in. You could just tell he was kind of floating down, and they were just waiting to serve him as soon as he landed the take, and he was going to say something shitty about that team because they're sour. It's sour milk, They felt like they were ready to go, the Knicks, this year, and they were ready for that matchup with Boston. They looked forward to it, and then they got decimated with the injuries and ended up losing. So. I'm sure it's just sour milk. I'm sure he's feeling there, and that's why he's talking shit. And hopefully it means that the whole team's going to re-sign and run it back, and we'll get our shot at them next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they don't go to the Rangers games in the playoffs. But moving on, to victory formation. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. We got one of your Yankees who just had an historic month of May. You saw the last few days of it live, so tell us what that was like. Kind of just watching him live, coming up to the plate. Do you get that feeling of, oh, this guy is just different?
Yeah, he's out of this world right now, to be honest. So what's crazy is I went to the game on Friday night where he hit 2 home runs just for the fans, and then yesterday where he hit a home run as well in the first inning. And all those times that he hit home runs, the fans were killing him, booing him like it was the World Series. Like it was like a series that we were playing against him, and it was like 2-2 in Game 5, and we were in San Francisco in the World Series, or like something crazy. It was so loud. And I was telling Christy, I was sitting there with my fiance, I was like, they keep booing him, he's going to hit them because he likes the boos. He played against Houston since 2017, even through the trash can era, and we still went to that Game 7 when he was a rookie and he hit 50 home runs and won Rookie of the Year. So Judge has been in these moments, and all the talks about him possibly coming home because he went to Fresno State. You know, he's born in Irvine. He's a Northern California guy. So him visiting with San Francisco this past offseason, and then the Yankees throwing him the C, making him whatever the 15th or the 12th captain of all time in the Yankees history, whatever the fuck the number is, and giving him that lore. Him coming back here, it was all eyes on him. What was he going to do with the team that he grew up watching, whatever the fuck, you know, he went to visit the owner, and then
I had forgotten about how one of the MLB newsbreakers broke the news, and he spelled his name wrong. It was like Arson Judge to the Giants. I had forgotten that even happened, that the news was broken that he was going to the Giants, and then just wasn't true. But that guy was like a real MLB, like Adam Schefter kind of guy. Maybe not on that level, but I think it was John Heyman, if I'm not mistaken.
Everyone thought it was sewn up, that he was going home. It was sewn up. After the Yankees
I had forgotten
playoffs, it was done.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that one. And when the booing makes a little more sense now, I guess. But I'm glad you got to witness history, bro. I mean, he's been spectacular. I have him in fantasy, so I've been loving it, watching it, taking it all in. And I just want to give him a quick shout out to end the show. Victory formation, Aaron Judge, 14 homers in the month of May. And I think he also is batting. I think he's also batting like 380 or something crazy like that. So just an incredible month. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Yankees.
It's going to continue, by the way, for you fans. Not just the month of May. June 1st, he hits a home run in the first inning. Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right, man. Have a good one. Hotshead, Sixers, Dreamers. We love you. Take care. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Row 26, baby. We out of here. Dreamers, Hotsheads, Sixers. We gone.